This place is full of love. You can tell the people that like to be with old people because they really take care of you good and are very kind.
Twice a day, every day, activities people have an organized activity that's always interesting.
Everybody loves to play bingo. We play it 3 times a week here. We also have ceramics that you can paint. Really pleasant to live here. It's a good place to be.
Alright, start this budget workshop. Mr. Fields, I want to start off with a question. We had a conversation about the basement over there. If we need that room for another project, like, do you guys use that a lot, or do you pull in there?
Our basement,
Yeah,
we do use it for, like, what kind of
corner potentially.
corner?
Yeah,
Or,
it's bodies.
huh?
Bodies. I mean, you gotta take them in somewhere.
For parking.
Rehousing.
Temporarily.
If he moves out of that, is that the old?
It's the youth exhibit.
The old search, the search and
Same
rescue
thing for the
building.
Granger.
Because there's a potential that there might be something there.
The problem with using that and doing, putting something in the basement, is that if it's like vehicle wide, if you can move like office or any type of structure type or building, the ceiling height will not, it's not tall enough. But then all those remodels back, they would have had to lower the floor and have to go concrete out of the floor. You can't wall or structure most people don't have for office space without drastic remodeling. I don't know if you're talking about just putting coolers down there or what.
What is it he needs somewhere to, he needs to back into something. He's gotta unload the body maybe.
That's what I understand.
Yeah.
Is it for coolers?
Probably.
Where's his
I don't
coolers
know,
at?
well, he may have a contract with Meridian,
I think he does.
That's where
we're at right now.
so he wouldn't even need to unload.
Right.
It'd just be for his vehicle and his office.
For some reason he said he had to have somewhere to go pull the equipment.
Or maybe do if they're not open. I don't know.
Discuss that, because we can't pull through really anymore since that elevator's in there on one side. We also need to make a second spot for, it's a second location for if we had a car for, impound for having security.
And he has no place to store all of his, files,
Oh, does he have files?
on all of the past files.
Remember, we were
Like
trying
you
to
said,
look,
past files.
we were looking for past files, remember?
So
So maybe not a great option.
we would need to.
We were brainstorming.
You're brainstorming.
So, office wise, office space down there, that floor in the ceiling is too small to do, or too short to put into a.
Is that a double entrance elevator? Can you go into the,
No, it's just
just a
outside.
single?
Could've been handy to have built.
What's that?
Could've been handy.
Yeah, yeah,
It
right.
opened up both sides.
All right,
All right.
just workshop going here. No decision's gonna be made, just visit. Okay. You had a chance to look at any, yeah?
Of the recommended and approved
Mhm.
portions, and yes. Have gone through portions of it, and what side of this, and where do we want? Where would you like to start?
I don't know, does anybody on the board have something they want to start with?
You jump in.
What'd you say?
I said you jump in.
Okay, I'll start with the general law enforcement maintenance agreement. Okay, so on the jail side. We requested $1,000 on it. That is our copier, and maintenance agreement for our fax copy machine. We're averaging, 250 a quarter, so that's why it's 1,000 to 750. It's not enough, we've already gone over it, so just to maintain that is, that's what we put it at, we're averaging around 250, 220 every quarter. Our utilities, that's not getting any cheaper, through that May, we've done 31,000. We requested 40. If we have a harsh winter or something, I mean, that doesn't take long to go through that, and you guys are at 35. I don't know what our current or last utility bills were. Okay, that's all depending on. Except, our equipment, detention equipment, the ammo and equipment budget, we were at 7,000. We've decreased that over the years during other cuts from, we used to be at 10 and we went to 7. Ammo's is expensive. I mean, it's not getting cheaper. I know that we only use almost 5,000, that's what you guys put it at, but we were in the talks to replace some of our outdated rifles. And then we have to, I have 14 employees that have to get qualified and stay qualified and continue to shoot, and they have to shoot they have to shoot a handgun, qualify a handgun, rifle, and shotgun. And just for that, outside of other training, costs about $3,000 an hour. That also includes, we have to maintain these weapons, spraying, cleaning, magazines, so forth, and that comes into play. Our inmate program, 39, but there's $2,474 in there. That is actually a item that is purchased from, when we would get that money from the phone systems and stuff, when the inmates purchase phone cards and stuff. So that has to go back to the inmates. It can only be spent on inmates. It's their money. We quit putting it in this account. This is what was left over from that time. We've gone through this years and years, because it used to get zeroed out and but we can't take that money out of there. It has to be spent on inmates, and what they put in there has to go back to them. So we can't give it back to you guys. It needs to go there. It also is now taking our 24/7 program, which is that is for the state for monitoring stuff. It's a court sanctioned thing. So that has to have its own separate account, and then it goes to the state. I believe it's a 75-25 or something. They get a portion of it, and then we get the remaining portion, but that money has to go back into the 24/7 program for their drug testing and everything else. So the money that comes into it has to stay for that program. And we needed an account to put it in, and that's what I went to.
And so 3474 that was contributed by inmates?
That was an agreement for, yes, when they were on our old secure phone system. When they purchased phone cards and stuff, there was a portion that we get money back on that, for the expense, and that had to be used for, federal requirements for the inmates, for their programs, for anything relating to the inmates to better themselves, because they're paying for that. So that's where that came from.
Which is the other one?
It's in the same account.
Same account.
So now we use it, now it's used for the 24/7
Gotcha.
program, and that goes to the state. So we send them, and they have to have a portion of it so they can see the office, so they can see what was sent and pulled back, and we can have a dedicated account for them.
Thank you for explaining that.
Our tower rent went up this last year. It's $122 per month. So that is $1,464 for 12 months. So we need to make sure we have at least that amount in there to cover our rent portion of it for all our radio equipment that's out there. Our jail uniform, one uniform, shirt and pants for one uniform is about $100. We have 7 detention officers, so 7 uniforms, we've got $100. I mean, they don't. So when we get new people, they need new 6 uniforms. They don't just get one shirt and one pair of pants, because things get gross and gotta clean those things. So that's why we're around 1,000. Not everybody gets them replaced at the same time. It just depends on how they wear out. This year, last year we had to replace some of the employees. The inmate medical, we requested $15,000. We spent $11,742 as of May. People aren't getting healthier, and we have to maintain the ones that are in there, and we are responsible for that medical. Over the years, it has been continuing getting decreased. But last year on the budget, when we did the 2,000, we were in here, and we had, before we even got the budgets approved for that July, we had a bill that was over $2,000. We're told by you guys that you understood that, and we'd come back for a budget amendment. But this last time it seemed as though that was a funny that we didn't have the proper budgeting in there that we didn't adjust for it. And we project pretty well on what we're going to use. We're not overly pretty conservative, I think, on what we're using, bare minimum. So
I think our discussion on that kind of tended towards, at least a couple weeks ago, is we understand that that's out of your hands. So it's just a guess to try to budget for it. So our thought kind of in here was, maybe that we just work to whatever we need to fulfill the needs in that line item.
okay.
Leave it low for now and hope for the best, but
I was going to say 1 yard visit.
yeah, I'm sure.
The new store. This is the one-stop shop. We have a pharmacy. We have a bootlegger's liquor. The deli, the food that you can get at a lunchtime is so amazing. The coffee shop. Certain Friday mornings, there's 30 people sitting here in all these chairs. This is the hub for people to come and visit, have their coffee, have their donuts. It's amazing what this area has done. Totally amazing.
Or inmate medical, I mean, prescriptions, there's some that are very costly, but we're trying to work on to recoup some of those costs. Then our pre-employment, fortunately right now, we're only down one, so. Pre-employment is our psych test, and our medical psych test is $500. The drug test and everything else, I believe, is around $250. So, and we've had a lot that have filled up, so that goes through pretty quick. We have it, and that's what we do. We can't, if they fail it, we can't not pay it.
When you said 7 employees, is it 7 right now you have?
We are,
Because we were taking one away.
we took one away. We're 6. But we have a court security. So she's a part-time employee. She gets paid out of our overtime. And then that will run into an issue, so that we have, hold on, let me, because we've gone through this so many times. Sorry. Yeah, I think it's 6.
So I was thinking over 6, so it was
I think it's 6 now.
okay.
So, our salary portion of it, there is, our court security, she is paid out of our overtime when we're fully staffed, and after her wage portion comes out. If we go back down to there, we only have $6,000 for overtime. That's counting any time that we need extra court security, because we have full extra detentions for any time when there's people that are higher risk or issues. When there's jury trials, we have to have a secondary individual to handle the jury along with court security. Sometimes we need to have, depending on the type of case it is, sometimes we have to have 2 officers and a bailiff. That's all overtime, because that is beyond our normal scheduled shifts that we have. So it can get very costly, and we have had an increase in the activity in the courts because of the amount of cases that have been going through.
Any other questions on this one from you guys? Let's jump to the next one. Let's do sheriffs.
Okay. We asked for increase in some of that salary portion of it, to increase that line. For the on-call portions and the holiday portion that they probably can make it by with what we did last year. Okay. But we did have a short spot for one employee, and we were really tight. So that's why that was asked for.
Yeah.
The general sheriff mile/travel, that is for the sheriff's, for his trainings and his cost of his travel to the trainings, hotel, and his the training portion of it. That, it says that, unfortunately, there was we put his last training in with the sheriff's school and such, which put it over $600, which would have been added into that 773. So it's pretty close to right. But it generally is for all those portions of it. Our postage and freight, postage is going up. That's where we have to send all the concealed carry permits that come in, returns of services, sex offender, registry packets for new sex offenders as a whole packet thing. We only have $115 left this year. And I don't think the 250 will cover our shipping for what we have to do. Our radio expenditures, that all is our licensing, that's replacement of batteries, mics, all that equipment. It's also, we need to have a portion in there because that is also required on our grants, that we have a maintenance portion to keep those radios in service every time that we've gotten those grants from for communications, and that's what pays for that, and that's what fulfills that requirement. It does not take on one of those Motorola's to cost a lot of money, because they're not cheap. That one. That's why we asked 2,000. We generally go through that portion of replacing. The new equipment, the sheriff equipment, that is for the sheriff. That is his equipment portion line. So that way it does not pull from the other deputies. It doesn't take much. We have 7, counting sheriff, we only have 7,000 in our school expenditure. That's 1,000 per deputy, not counting the new one going to the academy for continued training. Training's expensive, the same thing for hotels and everything. And then the public relations. The sheriff public relations, that's where we have all our newspaper subscriptions out of for legal, for foreclosures and notifications. We need to have continue those. That is where our fees to WASCOP and our sheriff association, and those associations also continue to give us the access to our legal updates, jail updates, policies, and everything else to be there in those memberships. And those are actually very valuable. That would be, we could do 1,000 on that. I mean, we could do what we did last year. I think for the most part, we can do what our budget for the most part is last year, except for those mandatory items, the tower rent. I mean, those things are very vital to us on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. What are the youth services?
Youth services, we did not ask for anything different from last year, I don't think.
The wages will go up a little bit, so it was short, we didn't have to do a budget adjustment. To get her out. We're short just $100.
She's a very vital requirement of the help with our youth in the county on keeping them on track. So,
Few minutes left with Officer Fields, if anybody got any
I
questions?
have a question.
yeah.
When you send people, this is just curiosity a little bit. When you send people to training, where did they go?
So if they're going to the academy like new hire, they'll go to the academy, or for certain certifications like firearms instructors, SQL instructors, they go to the academy in Douglas. There's also training that they have to go other places, other states, other locations within the state. We can't offer all the trainings here. A lot of times it is for specialized stuff as in certifications or instructor portions of it. I know we've had to send people down to Cheyenne for our federal requirements, so we're reporting correctly for the feds, and then that's how it gets us our grants and statistics. And if we don't do that, we're not eligible for any grants or any money from the federal government. So we have to make sure we're up on that portion of it. So it just depends what training it is and really how close we can get. We try to do as much as we can here, but a lot of times it's
When they go to Douglas, though, they stay at the academy, in the dorms.
when they are for their basic they do. A lot of times once there
Or
are
whenever possible.
when we do we can at times, but there's sometimes those dorms they pile them in there. So
And the other thing, is there facilities that you can look at, like Zoom training? Like, can you do some of it without travel, without the expenses of going and staying somewhere?
we do when we can, but there's some stuff that we cannot get viable training without travel.
Thank you.
Don't bother, just ask what.
Are there any that are behind on training?
I don't think so, but it's a portion that we have to hit so many hours every year, 2 years, and depends on how many years of experience and what level they're at, professional, basic, their requirements for training. Training is something that you don't want to neglect or let slip by, because then it causes then you would be at a issue of failure to train your officers, which brings in another whole legality portion. So if you're not providing the training, just bare minimum training and not going beyond, you can be held liable for failure to continue to keep basic training going.
So what if somebody didn't pass the academy? What do you do?
If they didn't pass the academy and they're out of their time and they can't go back, they will lose their job. And then we have to go back through and hire. So they have to be certified. We have to have certified individuals to work.
For insurance purposes, liability purposes?
State statute.
Did we go over special office equipment? If so, I must have been sleeping. What is special office equipment?
That is all our subscription requirement stuff, like our body camera and our evidence.com subscriptions. That all comes out of those. Those are all our yearly operational subscription costs. And that's what that costs us per year. And then a lot of those we're contractually obligated to pay those. And that's, a lot of times they're signed up for like a 5-year contract. I just renewed our body camera last year, which I got into work a deal to sign up last year before the cost increase, which would have increased it by another 15%. So I was able to renew it last year. I was current last 5 years, so we're good for another 5 years after last.
Thank you.
All good then. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Ken.
Oh, our inmate count has increased. I was wrong on that. It was, went over the weekend, we went up to 12, we went down to 9, we're back at 10. It's continuing to stay pretty high.
Yeah. You're all good with, is there a time frame that you would prefer for the next meeting for us to come over?
No, let me know.
Okay. We'll get it on the agenda and we'll see it. Okay.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's.
Hey, Mike, here real quick. Is this, are we certain that
Oh, John, no, Steve? How are you?
Yeah, she got it approved. It's the CLT?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's already got it approved.
okay. Just didn't know, I wanted to double check so we didn't get in trouble.
Hey, Brooke. Hey, Brooke. You want to sit here?
I can sit in this chair. All right. Awesome.
Yeah. Anthony, come sit right here. Well, so we have to move this.
Oh, you're doing that. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
You can have this chair.
Yeah, Michael said that she got it approved.
She got it approved for the decision.
Yeah, I already got it approved. Way before.
This can come back more.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I can stand.
You're out, Mike.
All right, I don't know how you guys want to do this, but.
Just go line by line, thank you. And tell us what you got. Is this the same thing?
Yeah. Biggest thing we are concerned about, anybody from my office can speak up to, biggest things we're concerned about is, it looked like, we cut the assistant line by $9,000, around there, and at least the proposal. There was a proposal to cut the deputy, salary line, by exactly $55,200, which is exactly which one of my deputies get paid, and that is a concern to me.
Thank you.
Considering, when you look at the Weston County Commissioners webpage, their vision is to provide a safe and healthy community by working cooperatively with citizens and businesses of Weston County. Just looking at the budget sheet, I think you guys understand this, but half of my entire salary is reimbursed by the state of Wyoming. $30,000 of hers is reimbursed by the state of Wyoming. $20,700 is reimbursed for Mr. Toscana. I don't know where he went. Oh, Anthony's by the state of Wyoming. So not reflected in that budget sheet is $91,500 that aren't even costs, that are presented as costs, but they aren't. So that brings that number down. We also have hers, which $65,000 about is reimbursed from various funds, state, federal. So when we're talking about the deputy salary budget line, The only real cost to the county is $27,600, which doesn't, to me, makes sense considering the work we have to do in the office. We have, for this large of a place, we have lots of misdemeanors, quite a bit, lots of felonies, child abuse, neglect, Title 25, and civil work. Just to give you some numbers, in 2025, to this point, in district court, we've had 11 criminal cases filed, 11 juvenile cases filed. And that doesn't include probation revocations, and that's consistent with our numbers from the previous years. We took a look at the 2023-24 fiscal year. We had 46 district court cases filed. Again, that doesn't include probation revocations and bond revocations. 152 criminal cases in circuit court, and that includes, they're not just minor stuff. We're talking about DUIs, people driving intoxicated on the street, domestic batteries, misdemeanor, even child endangerment, stuff like that. And Jeannie thinks drug possession, stalking. Yeah. During that same time period, we have over 1,400 citations in circuit court, and those deal with the stuff, no insurance, speeding, driving while under suspension, but it still takes time. And that Mr. Toscana takes a lot of time with, getting paid very little already for attorney market rate in the area. We've had, I don't know, Jeannie, in the past few years, how many sentencings on sexual abuse cases?
Yeah, I think we haven't, we're going through some numbers, but we've had anywhere from 6 to 8 sexual abuse, sexual assault cases. And I think, those take a lot of time, obviously, but we've sent up quite a few people to the penitentiary for those.
Obviously, we had the sentencing of homicide sentencing a few months ago. We deal with that. Took a lot of time. Our office basically came to a stop for a couple months. Would you say?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's pretty steady work for that.
Felony strangulation cases, felony drugs, possession with intent to deliver. It's just very busy. We're trying to just do our job here. We do have we looked at some numbers from other counties, and Mr. Barron's here as well. So if I'm wrong on Crook County stuff, just throw something at me or something, but that same 23-24, Crook County had, if we counted right, 26 filed district court cases, but notwithstanding, Mr. Barron gets paid $145K, deputies get paid $70K, another deputy's getting paid $52K. Similar paying as we have right now as the previous budget in Niobrara County. They had 21 filed. We have Sublette County, 31 filed during that time. They have 3 full-time attorneys, 2 deputies at $120,000 each, 2 legal assistants at $71,500 each. Supply line at $3,500. Basically, the numbers are right. What the budget that we have that we're just asking for now is just to keep functioning as an office, so we can do our jobs. What's the numbers, Anthony? Right now you pay for about 1.75
FTEs. You guys are paying for about 1.75 FTEs and attorneys, and you're getting to work about 2.25. Depends on how much Jeannie works the weekends and stuff. But I mean, I spent 10 hours working on the Fair Board unemployment deal. If you guys had to hire a private attorney, like Gillette attorneys are charging $3.25 an hour. So I mean, that's like literally like almost what I get paid for a whole month.
Yeah. And if we knock this down, it'd be basically the line would be about 1.25 FTE full-time attorneys. It's not even that we have to. It's not even just the cases that we have to file. We have to do the civil work. Law enforcement we've worked with, and I think developed pretty good relationships with. The filing is just not the filing. We help them get the search warrants. We help them sort of get cases set up before they're filed. That's the big thing. So that deputy attorney line is one of the biggest things we want to at least keep at the same rate as it is now. That $9,000 did help pay for somebody that has helped help us filing, keep going, cover us when we're in those felony jury trials. I don't even know how we're supposed to operate an office. We are already hanging on a string when that happens. When we're in felony jury trials, nobody would actually be in the office. I'm not even supposed to fulfill my statutory obligation at that point, having an open office all business days of the year. We just are real worried, especially when it's looking like there's more being costs. I don't know if you guys have other funding to take this out of, maybe some reserves, some ARPA funds. I don't know if they had to be used already by now or they could be used next year. But it's really concerning to the county attorney's office and our ability to even provide the work we're supposed to. So that's the long and short of it. I think another big thing is the what's the line I'm thinking of?
Office supplies.
Office supplies, yeah. I think another big thing is the what's the line I'm thinking of?
Office supplies.
Office supplies, yeah. The office supplies line, I think the proposal was at $500. That's going to be used up. I don't know how quick.
You talking to annex?
No, this is for
This is the attorney.
This is the attorney's office. I just don't know what it feels like to me. If we have to cut this down, we're going to have to make priorities. And I don't know what priorities, how we do that. Are we supposed to prioritize? And are you guys supposed to prioritize what the top 5, 10 cases we're supposed to prosecute? Or what the top civil issues? Or do we have to go get another attorney to contract out to cost more? I just don't know how that's supposed to happen. So the proposed budget that we got last week will really make the whole county less safe. Not follow the vision. Again, provide a healthy community by working cooperatively with the citizens and businesses of Weston County. And we just really need the budget where it was at last year at least. I mean, it would be better if it was more than that, but I understand some of the constraints that the board has. I do believe that some of these folks, some of my office wants to participate and maybe talk to the board on their own. So, Anthony, you have anything to add?
I mean, Mike touched on everything, but I would just add that, like, for me, I mean, I use my own private firm laptop. I mean, I don't know anyone else that does that. They usually have my initial ticket job, they offered me a county laptop, and I just was like, well, there's no need to double up and have 2 laptops, but I use my own private cell phone. I mean, I don't know what other attorney does that, but I get a reasonable value out of me, but that's just, I understand what the legislature did to you guys though, so I mean, I understand, but it's kind of like defunding the police, because like it's a process. You can't have cops arresting people if there's nobody there to prosecute the crimes. Like, I don't know what law enforcement is supposed to do, but.
Jeannie?
I guess the one thing I want to say is I think our office has a really good working relationship within our office. I think the reason why we all stick around is because we like each other within our office and we support one another. I've never seen the teamwork that we have, especially when we're getting ready for a trial. I mean, it's all hands on deck and we're all have our specialties and the things that we're good at. And I think we're really a good team. And, we certainly don't do it necessarily for the pay. We certainly don't do it because people appreciate us sometimes or not. I mean, it's a tough job and we do difficult things. And we've talked about it, as an office, and the reason why we all stick around is because we genuinely like each other within our office and we work well together. And I think, taking one of those out or maybe a couple out of that equation certainly changes the dynamic. And I think we get to a spot again where Mike says, hey, what are we going to prioritize? Are we going to let all the DUIs and the batteries go because we have more felonies that we need to do? I guess, I feel like we've made huge strides, and I would ask that you guys support the budget. So.
I would just ask that you guys let some of the people that came here to support us talk to you about our office.
You wanna go first with Brian? We got Brian on.
Yeah, if the sheriff wants to participate.
Brian, I'm gonna set you up here by the microphone, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, if you wanna just, Brian, I guess comment to the board on whatever you wanna let them know.
Yeah, I just want to say, you know, I've been around a long time working in law enforcement, and I will tell you, without a doubt, this is the first time I feel like we've truly had a prosecuting attorney's office. And the county attorney side of it has been a tremendous help, you know, for my office, working through some policy issues and getting everything up to speed. But I'll tell you, we've never, you know, ever had the ability to prosecute hard cases until now. I mean, it is night and day different from what I'm used to. I'm not knocking any of the previous attorneys, but I will tell you, this attorney's office works very, very hard to get people prosecuted or help us get people prosecuted. And the other thing we do a very good job of too is sometimes we get ahead of the wagon here a little bit and maybe we're not ready for a prosecution, or maybe this is not where we go. They're very good at communicating that with my staff and myself, and they are a very good check and balance in that justice system and the judicial system to make sure, you know, maybe we shouldn't go forward with the prosecution because we don't have the right evidence. So I just want to say, for what they got to work with, I've never seen anything like it in the 26 years of my career in Weston County. So that's what I got.
Thanks, Brian.
Chief Topsy, you wanna go?
I've been working in this field for 16 and a half years or thereabouts. I spent 12 years here in Weston County working for Sheriff Colvard. I spent 2 years in Johnson County working for Sheriff Odenbaugh, and I came back here in February of 2023. I did a quick count in my head the other day. I think I've worked for 12 different county or deputy prosecuting attorneys in my time. Out of all that time, I can't count the number of child sexual abuse cases, sexual assault cases, things like that. We worked, we investigated, we poured our blood, sweat, and tears into, and they, by the large majority, went completely unprosecuted. Didn't even so much as file charges on some of them, and that's where it ended. We would turn over our investigation, and that was the end of it. Under Mr. Stolken, I've seen more cases prosecuted, more cases taken to trial than probably the combination of all of the rest of the attorneys I've worked with. Now, granted, when I was in Johnson County, I wasn't there for a long time. They were good attorneys, and I probably wasn't there long enough to get a good, solid feel on the number of prosecutions they were doing and the number of cases they were taking to trial. But what I will tell you is this is the best group of folks to work with I have seen in this county in my career. And I guess the one thing that's troubling to me about wanting to cut their budget is I may be related to an attorney. And before I walked in the door, I called her and I said, what do you think the average going rate for an attorney with your level of experience in the state of Wyoming is? And I said, I understand that's widely variable based on what you do, what firm you work for, how good you are. And she said that she would say the lowest average would be about $150,000 a year. Highest average would probably be $200,000. She said her current billing rate is $400 to $450 an hour. When she was a first-year associate in 2002, she made her billing rate was $135 an hour. Now, that's not her salary, but that's the billing rate. You have 3 people in this office with Juris Doctor after their name, and you're paying out of the county budget, if I understand the math correctly, about $140,000 a year. The rest is reimbursed by the state, if I understand this correctly. Tell me if I'm wrong. Just some things of note, like I talked about, the child sexual abuse cases. I've never seen an expert witness testify in a trial in this county until Mr. Salkin was in office. He does provide training and guidance to law enforcement. One of them will always answer their phone if we're in a difficult situation. They help keep us out of civil liability. This job is always increasing in difficulty and complexity. New case law coming out. There's just always something new to navigate, a new situation. It seems like no two situations are ever alike. And being able to get a hold of them and being able to consult with them has helped us so many times in situations that we potentially could have gotten in trouble if we took the wrong turn. Situations where we had to act, but we didn't know exactly what the right course was all the time. That's another thing I'm not used to. They're willing to answer their phone. They're willing to work with us. They hold trainings for us on changes in the law, changes in case law. They keep us updated with things that we need to watch out for. I just can't say enough about how well they have worked with us. And, I know there's a lot of people in the community that want to sit in the rocking chair and criticize the quality of work that comes out of that office. I guess part of that is you get what you pay for. And like I said over and over, it's better than it has ever been here before. So I would be in a tough spot if we were to lose some of the staff with that office and they were to the point where they had to decide what crimes they had to prosecute. I think that puts us all in a bad position. And the other thing I would tell you is my office is currently literally at half staff. If I'm able to get fully staffed, their numbers are only going to continue to go up. And when you compare their numbers to neighboring counties, the number of cases they file, the number of cases they push through, their numbers look pretty good from the little bit I've looked into it. I guess the other thing that I would tell you is that, like I said, I worked in Johnson County. Their population, a quick Google search, is 8,759 people as of 2023. When I was living there, people from California were coming in droves. I'm sure that number has gone up from there. They have 3 full-time attorneys, and I think they prosecute less cases, or maybe about the same, or file less cases, I should say. The prosecution numbers, I wasn't able to get those as quickly as I would have liked. So I would just ask that you guys really think long and hard about this. And if you want to continue to work towards having as safe a community as possible, I would encourage you to reconsider the budget that you proposed giving to them.
There's a whole lot of people in jails and prisons in Wyoming who really didn't mean to do anything wrong, but they screwed up and they did. But apparently Becky Hadlock and other elected officials in Wyoming are in fact above the law. At least that's what I think the governor showed us with his decision.
And I think he did too. And I think he makes it blatant by avoiding the clear violation of the law. The rest of it, you can, yeah, she got the testing done. It was at the last minute, at the last chance, and she failed it. But she did submit the report on the day, even though it was like 11:59 or whatever. Right. There's some ways you could finagle the other things. But he blatantly ignores the malicious intent and the felony committed.
And he jumps through so many hoops to let her off.
So I would just ask that you guys really think long and hard about this. And if you want to continue to work towards having as safe a community as possible, I would encourage you to reconsider the budget that you proposed giving to them.
Thank you.
Joe.
Does anybody from this board have any questions for Michael? We don't have an immense amount of time. We're going to stay on schedule here.
I just rather hear other people talk.
Okay. Who wants to speak next?
Joe, you want to go next?
My name is Joe Barron. I'm a county attorney from Sundance, Wyoming, and I've been the county attorney there since 1990. I've certainly worked with Weston County over the years. We have agreements to save the county's money by doing special prosecutions for each other. Before that, though, I actually came up and prosecuted a case with the Cecil County back in the 80s, where we prosecuted a gentleman here in Weston County. And at that time, we received $60 an hour at trials, about 2 or 3 days. It cost Weston County about $3,600. If you equate that today, if you guys didn't have anybody in this office and you were paying for that, you'd pay at a minimum of $250 an hour, probably more than that. So you're looking at $15,000, $18,000 just to prosecute one burglary case. That's private sector, you get into that. So, and the other thing that's happening here that's going on, I've been through it and I've had people leave my office. One of them became the circuit court judge, and she had been down here before. And and so I had nobody for close to 6 months trying to find somebody to come in and go to work in a small county. It's tough. People are not beating the doors down to come there or here. And if these people weren't here, you don't have anybody else that's here to do this job. That's something. As far as the case statistics, and I read something on Facebook that they talked about, it's not the county officials' jobs to keep the newspaper in business. They can walk across the street and they can go to a public access computer and they can gather all those stats if you're concerned about statistics. But that's not the job of a prosecutor. Prosecutor is to seek justice. And I can tell you this, that if you have prosecutors that are overworked, you're not going to get justice, because some cases will get filed that should never have been filed, and vice then other cases that should be prosecuted won't get prosecuted. And so that's it. So the other thing that I wanted to address was, and those statistics are available. They're available at the Supreme Court website. You can look at all those things, or you can go downstairs and do it. But one of the things that I did want to look at here was your budget on this. And we have in our county, we have an equivalent of 2.3 full-time positions. I'm full-time. I have a half-time deputy, which is Miss Stone, and I also have a 80% employee on that as well. And so, so I have 2.3 people, equivalent people. The goal is, in my mind, is this: for if you want better prosecution, you hire full-time prosecutors to do the jobs. So they don't have conflicts, and they can devote all their job to that. In this county here, Weston County, I've looked at it for years. I've been asked about doing it with Cook County before. It's like, no way. You give me 2 people, staff, and way more budget than what you have. So my budget this year, I give you guys a copy of it here, and it got cut too, just like everybody else. But it says 390 there. But the 390 is actually, it's about 368, I believe, after we went through some cuts there on that. And that's what, and this does not, it's the same as you guys. It doesn't include health insurance and other benefits that you pay and that sort of thing. And that's about roughly, it's about $100,000 more than what you're paying, what the recommended budget is here, that or the approved budget is that sets forth on here, not the recommended budget. So that said, the other thing I have to say about the quality of their cases is they are prosecuting stuff down here that I can tell you that was never prosecuted in the past. The number of sexual assault cases that gets prosecuted up here, it seems like every time I get on and we do joint arraignments, there's always somebody that's getting charged with something there. And they're doing that. And they've had good cases on some of them. But you know, our job is to present the case. That's their job to do their side. And then it's up to a judge or jury to make a decision on that. So whether you win or lose, does the case need to be brought? Do you have sufficient evidence to bring the case there and do that? That's what's important here. And If somebody's acquitted, then, you know, that's a jury. We have to respect that. That's their job. That's the way our system works. So I think that the standard is not the stats. The standard is do the people of the community get the prosecution that they deserve? Do the victims, do the witnesses, they get worked with on that? And do the victims get some form of justice? Although no form of justice is ever perfect in the criminal justice system. It just isn't. There are just losses that cannot be recovered from on that. But anyway, thank you. And if you guys have any questions about any of what goes on, feel free to call or ask anytime. And the other thing I will say this, in the past, I have had Weston County officials call me to ask for advice and do those things. They have called me and asked. My thing was, well, you know, why you call me? You got a county attorney. Well, they don't. But I have to say, since Mike's been here, I have not received calls like I used to receive in the past from various elected officials down here about that. And most of those refer them back, you need to go talk to your county attorney. And once they did, a lot of them found that it was okay, but that's something else that's there. And I think, so I just think that Mike's doing a pretty good job for the people of Weston County.
Becca, you want to go next?
Me?
You want to go next?
So kind of just to piggyback off of what he said, he made a very good point. In April, my case with my 10-month-old daughter who was criminally assaulted just ended. It was a 6-day trial, and we lost that case. I don't hold the Weston County the Weston County Attorney's Office responsible for that loss. They gave their absolute all for 3.5 years. Were there at my ever beck and call, and I was knocking on their door constantly. They did everything in their power to give justice to my daughter. So it absolutely has nothing to do with their wins or losses. We had an expert witness on my side that could not make it. And if they could have made it, it would have been a whole other ballgame. And that's completely out of their control. So I wouldn't be here standing today supporting them if they didn't do a phenomenal job, even though my case wasn't won. And I did email you guys all a letter, and I'll just read it really quick because I emailed it today. But I've recently been informed of the proposed budget cuts for the Weston County Attorney's Office for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. As a citizen of Weston County, these proposed cuts to this invaluable county attorney's office are unfathomable and would greatly impact the cities of Newcastle and Upton, Wyoming in a disgraceful manner. Having lived in Newcastle, Wyoming since 2016, my family was personally impacted by crime in 2021 when my 10-month-old was criminally assaulted. Being the person and mother that I am, and knowing the severity of my child's injuries, I have battled the fight of my life for the last 3.5 years. I simply could not have accomplished this without the unwavering services of Michael Stolken, Jeannie Stone, Brooklyn Weigel, and Stephanie Martinez, as well as Kaylee, all of whom make up the Weston County Attorney's Office, and not to disregard Anthony as well. My case was so large and challenging that they even had to recruit Donovan Burton, an assistant attorney general from the Wyoming Capitol in Cheyenne, Wyoming. If your proposed budget cuts would have taken place 1, 2, or 3 years ago, I would not have been able, or I would have been at a complete loss in fighting for my voiceless and innocent 10-month-old. Just the thought of that sickens me and worries me for my fellow citizens of Weston County for the future, because these budget cuts you're proposing would 100% allow criminals to run this county rampant, and by dismantling the Weston County Attorney's Office and their efforts to prosecute individuals for wrongdoing. Sadly, we live in a world where prosecutors are more busy than the average person can imagine, even a small community like ours. Your budget cuts would remove the entire position, or would remove one entire position from the Weston County Attorney's Office, massively weighing down the workload of the remaining employees. For someone who has desperately needed this office's assistance, and knowing how much work my case was, removing an employee's salary is unacceptable and would make the work for the remaining employees nearly impossible. That simply cannot happen. They would struggle to give any case the attention it needs if they are spread too thin, and that would be a travesty. Living in Wyoming that is mostly conservative, this proposal baffles me as I know how closely the Weston County Attorney's Office works with law enforcement. They are a team. You cannot have one without the other. Therefore, your proposal is the equivalent of the defund the police movement. Respectfully, I do not know any of you. I do not know any of you personally, and I have no idea what you have experienced in your lives. But if you have ever experienced anything close to the crime that rattled my life, this proposal would have never come to fruition because you would know how important the roles of those at Weston County Attorney's Office are. They are vital. They are vital to the safety and well-being of every citizen within the county. From someone who knows all too well how it feels to have crime knock on your door and nearly take my child's life, I urge you to reconsider your proposed budget cuts to the Weston County Attorney's Office. There will undoubtedly be another mom, another family that desperately needs this office at its fullest capacity to help bring justice and peace back into the lives and to help keep Weston County a safe place to be.
Pam, did you have something?
I did.
Pam, did you have something?
I did. I moved here in 2008 and I worked as a dispatcher at the police department. I would see the frustration on a lot of our officers' faces when they would have basically a silver platter to hand over to the county attorney's office and it be thrown back at them. As I became a business owner and on the city council and mayor, I saw a lot of changes in that aspect for both the sheriff's department and for the police department. They're getting cases, they're working diligently, they're protecting the citizens. I know budgets are tough. Working on budgets for the city, working on budgets for my business, there's vital lines on that budget. And you have to look at the prioritizing of which entities are the vital organ of your community. And our law enforcement is one. You need that county attorney as the other. I mean, our city attorney, we lost our city attorney when I was in the city council. And it's a blessing by the Lord that we were able to get the Hughes office in for the price that we paid. Like they all stated, you are not going to get anybody at the rates that we are paying these attorneys and for what they are going through with what's happening in our town. I mean, you can't rely on the income coming in by citations for traffic stops. I mean, if we looked at just doing that, we are criminally wrong as law enforcement and as the attorney's office. But you have to have these vital organs to run our community. Looking at the budget, I mean, I wouldn't look at decreasing anything when it came to your law enforcement, your county attorney, and your road and bridge. Those are your three major things for your infrastructure of this community. And I really think you need to take a look at that. There's many things that could be changed in that budget. We have a fairground that is a beautiful fairground that could be run more as a business than it has been. I mean, nothing happens there hardly ever that could be brought into this community and charged at a gate. We have the ambulance service. You know, let's push for that district so then you have that extra funding there to help the other entities. I mean, there's so many things that unfortunately aren't looked at until it becomes budget time, but need to be looked at constantly. So when it's time to put things on the ballot, they're ready to go. But cutting the entities that are so desperately needed is the wrong place to go.
I realize that you're on a schedule. May I take 1 minute, please? Good afternoon. I'm Janice Lynch, and I'm a district manager for the Department of Corrections. I'm basically your state probation and parole office here. And I'm also a county resident of Weston County. You heard about law enforcement from the front end, being able to bring the crimes to the prosecutor's office, and then the prosecutors doing their jobs, bringing it to the courts. I want to speak just a moment on the back end. And that's once the judge has made their decision and they are convicted, they go to probation or prison and they come out to parole in this community. Our relationship with the county attorney's office is very important. And multiple times I've been on the phone with Mr. Stolken way late into the evening hours because, as you know, probationers sometimes make bad decisions late at night. And we're making decisions on the safety of the community, on if we're going to revoke or not. You heard Mr. Stolken talk about the stats in the courtrooms, but there's a lot of stats on probation revocations. And we have to work hand in hand. And sometimes when they're so busy and they're all busy in the courtrooms, we take a back burner, and yet that is a real important aspect of this community and our safety in this community. So I am just here in support of the fact that we have a very good working relationship with this office. Thank you.
And I'd like to just add on to that of the support. For you, those of you who don't know me, my name is Sandy Stevens, and I run the domestic violence program here in Weston County. And over the past 2 years, our program has worked hand in hand with the Weston County Attorney's Office to support victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking, to hold offenders accountable, and to help make Weston County a safer place for all of its residents. During my time here, I have witnessed a significant improvement in the way domestic violence and sexual assault cases are handled and prosecuted, thanks to the dedication and professionalism of the County Attorney's Office and its staff. I have seen convictions in sexual assault cases which are notoriously very difficult to prosecute. And I have seen victims come forward with increased confidence, knowing their voices will be heard and taken seriously. The role of the County Attorney's Office in this community is vital. The proposed budget cuts have the potential to seriously set back the progress you all have worked so hard to achieve together. Without a fully staffed office, our shared ability to protect victims and hold perpetrators accountable will be severely compromised. And make no mistake, when crimes are not prosecuted, it sends a message that there are no consequences. That is not a deterrent. It is an open invitation. Your crime will go up. People who are already engaged in criminal activity will become emboldened, and as the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. You guys will see an increase in drugs, alcohol abuse, and domestic violence. And when that happens, our already limited county resources, from law enforcement to the courts to social services, will be stretched even further. As a director of our program that also receives county funding, I deeply understand the tough decisions you face and the strain across departments. But I must also acknowledge the real and direct impact that underfunding the county attorney's office will have, not only on its operations, but also on the safety and well-being of the people we serve every day. I've seen firsthand the results of a strong, well-supported prosecutorial team, stronger cases, higher conviction rates, and safer communities. We have built trust across systems between advocates, law enforcement, and the courts, and we are beginning to see real measurable progress. I am here today because I believe in this partnership, and I am so confident in the value of the county attorney's office and the people who work there that I am willing to withdraw my organization's funding request if it helps to preserve the staff and resources necessary for the county attorney's office to continue its work.
So in about 1.5 years, there's going to be, I'm guessing, a proposal on your tax, on your ballots. They're going to probably be 50% off your property taxes. This is 25% off of our property taxes. So I hope you all realize that this is what's hurting us and causing this kind of a situation. So I hope you're this boisterous about it when the people walking around the streets say, don't you want 50% off of your property taxes? Please sign this petition. These are the problems that we're going to face, and it's very likely that that passes. So I appreciate all of you guys coming in. I'm 10 minutes over. I want to hear everybody's voice. If you want, email me, please, or anybody on the board. But realize that we're just trying to get it figured out. This isn't an attempt to attack the safety of the community. Nothing's set in stone yet. We're working, and I hope you give us the opportunity to try to work through it. And I wish we had the amount of money Kirk County had.
We have less money in savings than you do.
I know, but you get more here than we do. That's because we're so conservative here.
No.
How many commissioners
take your
does Cook
break.
County have?
We have three.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I've heard that argument, and you could do that. It could be on the ballot, this upcoming ballot. The issue is you're really not saving much. I mean,
More than 27.5. And in health insurance that we're paying for part-time jobs?
but we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars with these taxes. So
So how much would we save if we cut two county commissioners?
50-ish, 60 probably, somewhere in there.
So enough to save a attorney?
No.
I don't think, when you're talking about the ballot and property tax being cut 50%, and on this last election, a lot of people didn't know what that meant. A lot of them just saw a tax cut. And I think the lack of educating the community on what that entails is an issue. A lot of people aren't going to go out there and educate themselves on that aspect of it, and I think that's where maybe our local government and our Democratic Party and our Republican Party can get that education out there to the public, because that ruins our infrastructure right there.
They just hear one side, they don't hear the
Right.
story, and no one's communicating.
Right, so I think the lack of education on that aspect is at that 50%.
Well, don't get me wrong, I don't want to pay any more than I have to.
I know, I don't either.
I don't want to lose essential services either.
Exactly.
But if we look at our taxes compared to some of the other areas, we are very fortunate in this community, and that's what we need to promote, is that we are very
Our taxes are very fair.
blessed.
I can tell you what I paid in Chicago.
Oh, yeah, I hear you there.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thanks for
coming.
listening.
Sorry I smelled. I had tanning stuff on today.
I love it.
That's why I smelled it.
Yeah, you read, get out of here.
Alright. That won't be on my.
Yeah. Do you want to show others you?
Loving tan. Does great, but you still stink.
Is this? Derek. Derek. Is this your bird?
Certainly is.
Yeah, I'll bring you the and you keep pictures.
That was fun.
Figured it would be a